The moment you explain yourself, you've already surrendered. You think you're defending your reputation. In reality, you're feeding your critics. Most people lose the battle the second they open their mouth. You're about to learn how to win it by closing you. Top, look at your life. How many times have you tried to clear things up and made everything worse? You argued, you justified, you over-explained, and the more you talked, the less they respected you. Think about the last time someone attacked your character. Maybe it was a coworker, a friend, a partner, even family. They twisted your words. They questioned your motives. They made you defend yourself for things you never did. You felt that tightness in your chest, that urge to speak, to correct, to fix. You were trained to believe that good people explain themselves, that if you just communicate clearly, everything will be resolved. But let me be clear, that is the lie that keeps you weak. Because in real power dynamics, the person who explains is already beneath the person who accuses. The talker kneels, the silent one sits on the throne. Society rewards those who are easy to read, easy to provoke, easy to guilt. School, parents, HR departments, soft therapists, they all teach the same script. Use your words, talk it out, be transparent. Here's what they don't want you to know. Predators study talkers. Manipulators feed on oversharers. Your critics don't want the truth, they want a reaction. And every time you rush to respond, to defend, to be understood, you give them exactly what they came for, your power. There is another way, a colder way, a way that feels wrong at first because it is the opposite of what you were trained to do. It is the power of intentional silence, weaponized, calculated, surgical. Most people will never understand this, but you will, because you're about to learn 9 Machiavellian rules of silence that don't just ignore your critics. They quietly destroy them. This is not new. The powerful have known this for centuries. In Renaissance Italy, where Niccolò Machiavelli watched princes rise and fall, words were weapons. But the deadliest move on that chessboard of court politics was not a speech. It was a pause. Machiavelli himself, after being exiled and tortured, understood something most people never grasp. He wrote in The Prince that a ruler must learn not only how to act, but how to appear. And appearance control of perception depends heavily on what you do not say. In ancient Rome, emperors survived not by arguing with every insult, but by remaining inscrutable. When the Senate whispered and plotted, the emperor did not send paragraphs. He sent silence. And then, occasionally, soldiers. There's a reason the elite are trained in discretion. Royal courts had strict codes about who could speak, when, and how much. Loose tongues were liabilities. Silence was armor. Modern society reversed this. Now you are encouraged to share everything, to respond instantly, to post, to text, to clarify. But evolution didn't build our brains for endless communication. Psychologically, humans still operate like tribes on a dangerous landscape. The one who talks too much exposes their intentions. The one who reacts too fast reveals their insecurities. The one who explains and explains is subconsciously seen as guilty. Average people react. Powerful people observe. The masses spill their emotions into group chats and comment sections. The strategist sits back and watches everyone else show their cards. This is why conventional advice fails you, because it assumes fairness, good faith, and rational listeners. Your critics are not operating in good faith. They are playing for dominance, not for truth. Now, let me show you the exact framework. 9 Machiavellian rules of silence that shift you from prey to quiet predator. Silence is not absence. Silence is a vacuum. The human brain hates empty space in conversation. When you don't fill it, other people do. With their own doubts, their own fears, their own projections. Here's what they don't want you to know. Most attacks on you are not really about you. They are internal storms projected outward. When you try to explain, you interrupt that process and pull the storm back onto yourself. When you stay silent, the storm spins in their own mind. Imagine this. You're at work. A coworker publicly implies you got lucky with a promotion. Everyone looks at you, expecting a rebuttal, some polite defense. Average people would rush in. No, I worked hard. I did this. I did that. You don't. You look at the critic calmly. You hold eye contact for a second longer than is comfortable. You give a tiny, almost bored half nod, and you say nothing. Pause. The room feels it. Now they have to interpret your silence. Some will think, he's above this. Others, maybe the critic is insecure. Others, why did they even say that? Your silence becomes a mirror. Their words hang in the air, exposed, with no counter to legitimize them. Tactical application. When confronted with a disrespectful or undermining comment in public, pause. Hold still. Let the silence stretch for 3 to 5 seconds. If you respond, keep it short and unrelated to their emotional hook, or don't respond at all. Remember the phrase, the vacuum of silence makes their words echo back on them. Not every attack deserves a reply. In fact, most of them don't. Powerful people understand hierarchy of importance. Every response you give is a signal. You are important enough to occupy my time and attention. Your critics feed on this signal. They interpret answers as validation. This is the part where people get uncomfortable, because you were raised to believe that not responding is rude, or that silence means guilt. Both are wrong. Imagine your phone lighting up with messages. A critic sends a long paragraph, accusations, dramatics, emotional bait. Average people type essays back. They argue point by point. They defend, they justify, they over-explain. You read it once, you lock the screen, you do nothing. No angry response. No clarifying voice note. No, let me just explain my side. Pause, hours pass, maybe a day. You go on with your life. And something predictable happens in their mind. They start to spiral. They reread their own message. They wonder if they went too far. They begin to look emotionally unstable, even to themselves. Then they send another message. Shorter, more defensive, then maybe an apology. Tactical application. Adopt a rule. If a message is emotionally charged, manipulative, or clearly fishing for a reaction, it does not get a response. Not delayed. Not, I'll respond later. Silence is the response. This next law is where most people fail, because they can stay silent once, but not when someone starts poking their wounds in public. Their silence as absence, and their silence as pressure. Controlled pauses are micro silences you use while speaking. They show that you are not rushed, not reactive, not intimidated. Psychologically, when someone is attacked, their speech speeds up. They talk faster, their voice becomes higher. They signal submission. Predators notice this. Imagine you're in a meeting. Someone says, I don't think you really know what you're doing on this project. All eyes move to you. Average people respond instantly. I do know what I'm doing. I've done this before. You don't. You inhale. You look at the attacker. You wait 2 full seconds. The room tightens. Then, slowly, calmly, you say, noted, pause. Then you turn to the person in charge. We'll let the results speak. Next point, no emotional debate. No self-defense. Just a pause and a redirection. The controlled pause before you speak communicates, I am not afraid, I am thinking. I choose when and how I respond. Tactical application. When criticized verbally, never respond in the first 1 or 2 seconds. Force a pause. Use those seconds to lower your voice, slow your breathing, and choose minimal words. The silence before your words makes those words heavier. But pay attention to this next part. Silence is powerful, but if your body betrays silence is not just about the mouth. It's about the face. In nature, prey flinches. Predators don't. If your words are silent but your face is screaming, you've already lost the frame. Your critics don't just listen. They scan your micro reactions, a twitch, a frown, a raised eyebrow. Any of these can be interpreted as guilt, hurt, or insecurity. Law 4 is simple. When under attack, your face becomes stone. Imagine you're at a family gathering. A relative takes a passive-aggressive shot at you. So, still not married? When are you going to get serious about life? Average people chuckle nervously. They look away. They rush to explain their choices. You don't. You look at them with a calm, unreadable face. No smile, no frown, just neutral observation, as if you're studying an insect. You hold that for a second, then you slowly turn your attention away to your plate, your drink, another person. No verbal reply. Internally, they feel something. Rejection. Loss of control. Their joke didn't land. Their hook didn't catch. Tactical application. Practice this in a mirror. Neutral eyes. Relaxed jaw. No forced smiles to soften their disrespect. You are not required to perform politeness when being attacked. Your stone face, combined with silence, communicates. You do not matter enough to shift my emotional state. Here's what they don't tell you about this approach. The first time you use it, some people will escalate. Good. That escalation reveals who they really are. Total silence is powerful, but sometimes a single, minimal reply is even more devastating. The asymmetric reply means this. They give you a page, you give them a sentence, it signals a brutal truth. You invested heavily in this conflict. I didn't. Psychologically, humans seek reciprocity. If they send you 10 units of emotion and you return only 1, their brain senses imbalance and assigns you higher status. Imagine someone sends you a long emotional attack. You've changed, you're selfish, you never cared. After everything I did for you, average people defend each line, point by point. You don't. You respond hours later with, I see how you feel. I disagree. Nothing more. No attempt to fix them. No begging to be understood. No paragraphs of context. Their mind goes to war with itself. They'll hear that line again at night. They will want more from you, but there is no more. Or in a work context, they send, I think your plan is unrealistic and poorly thought out because of XYZ. You reply, noted. We'll measure by results. That's it. Tactical application. When you feel compelled to send a long defense, stop. Write the long message if you must, then delete it. Replace it with a calm, short line that does not accept guilt, does not return emotional energy, does not reopen the conversation. 7. But this next law is dangerous if misused because it can cross the line from power into passive aggression that backfires. Your critics want an audience. They feed off witnesses. Silence is not only about what you don't say to them, it's about what you don't say about them. Average people complain to anyone who will listen. They explain their side in group chats, at work, online. They try to manage everyone's perception. But the more you talk about an attacker, the more space you give them in your mental and social architecture. Powerful people isolate noise. Imagine someone at work tries to smear you. They spread subtle stories. They want you to chase their narrative through the office. You don't. You do your work. You remain calm. You stop mentioning them entirely when others try to bring them up. So what's going on between you and Alex? You shrug slightly. It's handled. Then you change the topic. No gossip. No emotional storytelling. Over time, observers notice something. One person talks constantly, circles around the same drama, keeps invoking your name. You, on the other hand, are quietly focused, unfazed, uninterested in the game. People subconsciously gravitate toward the one who appears less entangled. Your silence about the conflict frames you as bigger than the conflict. Tactical application. Adopt a rule. You do not speak negatively about your critics to third parties unless it serves a clear strategic purpose. Otherwise, let them be the only one talking. Their noise will isolate them. Here's what they don't want you to know. Reputation is rarely destroyed by attacks alone. It's destroyed when you help spread the story by constantly responding to it. Your critics want an instant verdict. They want you to rush into defending yourself, so they can frame your rush defense as instability or guilt. The delayed verdict is the discipline of not settling anything in the moment. When accused, you withhold your final position. You do not plead. You do not beg to be believed. You let time pass. You let patterns emerge. You let them keep talking. Imagine a partner or friend says, I heard you said X about me. Is it true? Answer me right now. Average people panic. They plead, no, that's not what I said. I would never. You'll respond differently. You say slowly, I don't rush into defending myself against rumors. If you're willing to believe that so easily, that tells me what I need to know. Then you go quiet. You have just shifted the frame. The question is no longer, are you guilty? The new question is, why are they so eager to believe the worst? Tactical application. When cornered by sudden accusations, refuse the demanded urgency. Use lines like, I'll respond when I've decided what deserves my energy. Or, I don't answer to ultimatums. By delaying your verdict, you invite them to reveal more. More manipulation, more desperation, more of their real character. But this next technique is what separates amateurs from true strategists. The silent trap is simple. You give your critics enough quiet space to expose themselves completely. In warfare, retreat is sometimes a trap. You pull back, creating open ground. The enemy charges, thinking you're weak, and walks into an ambush. Silence works the same way. Imagine someone is trying to undermine you in a group. They throw subtle jabs. They misrepresent your decisions. They want you to react so they can say, "See, you're overreacting." You do not react. You do not argue. You let them keep speaking. You watch. You document mentally or literally. You let them get comfortable attacking you in front of others. Then, at the right moment, when they have overextended, you present a calm, simple reality, a record of their words, evidence of their contradictions, a pattern of their behavior, delivered once, not debated, just laid out like a quiet execution. By then, your silence has done most of the work. Others have already started to feel their imbalance. Tactical application. When you detect an attack pattern, don't rush to shut it down. Go silent. Observe, collect, then, at a time of your choosing, in a controlled environment, you reveal the truth with minimal words. This is not taught in schools because it makes you difficult to control. But there is one final law. Without it, all the others turn you into a cold shell instead of a strategic force. External silence is worthless if your internal world is chaotic. Many people cannot stay silent because their inner monologue is screaming. They think I'm weak. I have to defend myself. What if everyone believes them? Your critics are not just fighting your reputation. They're fighting your self-image. Machiavellian silence requires an inner phrase, a stable core. When attacked, your internal voice must say, "I do not answer to you. My value is not on this trial. You are not my judge." Imagine the next time you're criticized unfairly. Externally, your face is calm. Your mouth is closed. Internally, instead of panic, there's architecture, a solid structure of beliefs about yourself. I know my work. I know my values. I do not need your approval. Now, your silence is not fearful. It is chosen. People can feel the difference between scared silence and sovereign silence. One shrinks, the other expands. Tactical application. Build a few internal lines you repeat to yourself under fire. Short, grounding. They are not affirmations for comfort. They are commands to yourself. For example, hold the line. Observe. Don't react. Time will answer this better than I can. Most people will never understand this, but you will. The ultimate battlefield is not social. It's psychological. You now hold something dangerous. Silence, used this way, is not kindness. It is a weapon. Let me be clear. This framework is not for playing petty games or tormenting innocent people. It is for defending your frame, your energy, and your life from those who abuse your willingness to talk. If you use these laws to avoid responsibility, to stonewall in healthy relationships, or to escape growth, you are not powerful. You are running. Use this responsibly. The point is not to become emotionless. The point is to become unreadable to those who wish you harm. You now see what others don't. That every word you speak has a cost. That every explanation is a negotiation of status. That silence is not emptiness, but pressure, structure, and choice. Most people will keep arguing in group chats. They will keep writing essays to people who have already decided to misunderstand them. They will keep chasing every rumor, every opinion, every whisper. You won't, because you understand that your critics don't need closure. They need distance, and silence gives it to them permanently. If this resonates with you, if you felt something shift as you listened, integrate one law this week. Not all 9, just one, maybe the vacuum of silence. Maybe strategic non-response. Prove to yourself that you can resist the urge to explain. In the theater of human behavior, most people are desperate for lines. They speak constantly, terrified of the quiet. You are learning to be different, to treat your words like ammunition, not background noise. In chess, the strongest positions are often the most still. Pieces unmoved, but controlling the board. Adopt that posture in your life. Let your reputation flow from your consistent actions. not your frantic defenses. The next time someone attacks you, remember, you are not required to attend every trial they hold in their mind. Sometimes the most ruthless, most effective move is to let their words hang in the air and then disappear into your silence. If this way of thinking fits you, you already know what to do next. Keep learning the darker side of psychology. Keep sharpening your perception. The masses will keep talking. You will sit quietly, watching, calculating, and when you finally choose to speak, they will listen